They are reflecting you. Every gesture, every word, every silence from that person you long to hear from. Every time they turn toward you or turn away, it is not truly about them at all. It is about you. The way they look at you, the way they speak to you, whether they preach for you or walk past you, all of it, every single piece of it, is a perfect reflection of the assumptions you hold about yourself and about them. And if you can truly grasp what I am about to tell you, if you can take this principle into your consciousness and live from it, everything changes, not just with this person, but with your entire experience of the world. You see, the one you call your specific person, this person who occupies so much of your inner world, is not an independent agent acting upon you from the outside. They are not making choices separate from your consciousness. They are a mirror, and what they reflect back to you is not their own independent will, but the image you hold of them in your own mind. The world is yourself pushed out. Neville told us this again and again. He did not say the world is sort of influenced by you, or that the world might respond to your thoughts if you are lucky. He said the world is you. Your specific person is you, made visible. Now, I know how radical this sounds. I know that when you look at this person, when you see them choosing silence, choosing distance, choosing someone else, it feels utterly real. It feels as though they are acting independently, from their own mind, their own heart, their own circumstances. But I am telling you now, and Neville told us over and over, that is the illusion. That is the dream. The outer world, including the behavior of every person in it, is a perfect reflection of your inner conversations, your inner assumptions, your inner image of self. So when you ask yourself why they are not coming to you, why they are not saying the words you long to hear, why they are not saying the words you long to hear, why they seem indifferent or cold or distant, the question is, what are you assuming? What image are you holding in your mind of them? What image are you holding of yourself in relation to them? Because I promise you, whatever you are assuming, that is what is being reflected back to you in their behavior. This is what this episode is about. This is what changes everything. Once you see your specific person as a mirror, once you understand that their every action is a reflection of your consciousness, you stop trying to change them. You stop waiting for them to make a move. You stop hoping they will wake up one day and see you differently. Instead, you turn inward. You change the image. You change the assumption. And when you do, the reflection must change. It has no choice. Consciousness is the only reality. So let us walk through this together. Let us look at what it truly means that your specific person is a mirror. Let us see how your inner image of them creates what they do. And let us learn how to change that image so completely, so naturally that the reflection in your world shifts before your very eyes. Welcome. If this is your first time here, this is a channel dedicated to the teachings of Neville Goddard, one of the most profound mystics and teachers of Neville Goddard, one of the most profound mystics and teachers of consciousness the modern world has known. Every day we explore his principles not as abstract philosophy, but as living, practical truths you can test tonight, today, right now. This episode is about the mirror. It is about seeing your specific person, the one you desire, the one you may feel is distant or unresponsive, as a perfect reflection of your own inner state, and more importantly, it is about what you do with that knowledge. By the end of this episode, you will understand not just that they are a mirror, but how to change what that mirror shows. You will know exactly what to do tonight as you close your eyes and enter the state that creates your tomorrow. So stay with me. This is not theory. This is the truth that sets you free. Let us begin with the most fundamental idea, the one that every other truth in Neville's teaching rests upon. Consciousness is the only reality, not consciousness and the outer world, not consciousness and the outer world, not consciousness influencing matter, consciousness influencing matter, consciousness made visible. The outer world has no independent existence. It is not creating itself. The outer world has no independent existence. It is not creating itself. It is not moving on its own. It is you, pushed out. Your specific person, then, is not an exception to this rule. They are not somehow outside your consciousness, acting from a separate will that you must persuade or convince or win over. They are in your consciousness. They exist for you, only as you conceive them. And the version of them that shows up in your world is the version you have imagined into being. Now, Neville often spoke of this in terms of assumptions. What are you assuming to be true? He would ask that question over and over in his lectures. He would say, do not ask what you want. Do not ask what you hope for. Ask what you are assuming, because your assumptions, the things you take for granted as true about yourself and about others, these are what harden into fact. An assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. He said that plainly. So if you walk through your day assuming that your specific person is indifferent to you, that they do not think of you, that they are happier without you, that they have moved on, then that assumption, though it may not be metaphysically true, will harden into your experience. It will show up as their silence. It will show up as their distance. It will show up as their distance. It will show up in every small gesture that confirms to you that yes, they do not care. But here is the other side of that kite. If you assume, truly assume, that they adore you, that they think of you constantly, that they long to be with you, that you are the one they want above all others, then that assumption too will harden into fact. It must, because consciousness is the only reality. The outer world does not argue with your assumptions. It reflects them. It obeys them. The specific person does not have a choice in this, because they are not acting from independent consciousness in relation to you. They are acting out the role you have cast them in within your own mind. Let me give you an example, one that Neville himself shared in different forms many times. A woman came to him once and said that her husband was cold, distant, unaffectionate. She had tried everything, she said. She had tried being kinder, being more patient, being more attractive, and nothing worked. He remained the same. Neville asked her a simple question. He said, "When you think of your husband, what do you see?" She said, "I see a man who does not love me. I see a man who is always turning away." Neville said, "Then that is what you will continue to see. Not because he is that man, but because you are assuming he is. You are holding that image in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality." He told her to change the image. Every night, before sleep, see him as affectionate. See him turning toward you. See him speaking words of love. Feel what it would be like if he were the husband you desire. Do not try to make it happen in the outer world. Do it only in imagination. Persist in that inner image, and the outer man must conform. She did. And within weeks, without any outer action on her part, without any conversation or confrontation, the man changed. He became warmer. He began to seek her out. He began to say the very words she had imagined. Now, to the outer observer, it looked as though the man had simply decided to change. But Neville knew the truth, and the woman came to know it too. The man did not change. The image changed. She stopped assuming he was cold, and so he stopped being cold in her world. He was always, only, a mirror. This is the principle we must grasp if we are to understand the specific person as a mirror. The person you are focused on is not an independent entity with a fixed personality and fixed feelings about you. They are, in your experience, a reflection of your consciousness. If you hold them in your mind as distant, they will be distant. If you hold them as uninterested, they will seem uninterested. If you hold them as in love with someone else, they will appear to be in love with someone else. Not because that is metaphysically true. Not because that is metaphysically true. Not because that is who they really are. But because your assumption is creating your experience. Now, I want to be very clear about something. This does not mean that other people do not have their own consciousness. Of course they do. Every being is God individualized, just as you are. But in your world, in your experience, they only appear as you conceive them. You are not controlling their inner life. You are not manipulating their free will. You are not manipulating their free will. You are simply experiencing the version of them that matches your assumptions about them. In someone else's world, they may be entirely different. But in your world, they are what you assume them to be. That is the law. That is how consciousness works. So the question becomes, what are you assuming about your specific person? And more importantly, what are you assuming about yourself in relation to them? Because often the image you hold of them is not just about them. It is about you. If you assume they do not want you, you are also assuming that you are not desirable. If you assume they prefer someone else, you are also assuming that you are not enough. If you assume they are indifferent, you are also assuming that you are unworthy of their attention. The mirror reflects both. It reflects the image you hold of them, and it reflects the image you hold of yourself. And until you change both, the reflection cannot change. Neville once said, "You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of another's decision. You are not at the mercy of another's decision. You are the one deciding in consciousness what that person is to you. And when you truly take responsibility for that, when you stop blaming their personality or their past or their current relationship status or their mood, when you stop saying they are this or they are that, and instead you say, I have been assuming they are this, I have been imagining them as that, then you step into your power. Then you realize that you are not waiting for them to change. You are the one who changes them by changing yourself. This is what it means that your specific person is a mirror. It means everything you see in them is you. Their love or their indifference, their pursuit or their distance, their yes or their no. It is all you. And once you see that, truly see it, you stop reacting to the outer world. You stop refreshing your phone, waiting for a text. You stop analyzing their words, looking for clues. You stop asking friends what they think it means. Because you know what it means. It means you have been assuming something. And if you do not like what the mirror is showing, you simply change the inner image. That is all. That is everything. Let us go deeper now into how this actually works, how the inner image creates the outer behavior. Neville taught that imagining creates reality, not imagining as in wishful thinking or daydreaming, but imagining as in constructing a clear, vivid sensory experience in your mind and feeling it as real. He called this living in the end. He said, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Do not imagine the process of how it will happen. Do not imagine the steps. Imagine the end. Imagine it done. And live in that state, in consciousness, until it hardens into fact. So when it comes to your specific person, living in the end means imagining them as you wish them to be, not as they currently appear. It means seeing them in your mind as loving, attentive, committed, affectionate, whatever the end looks like for you. And it means feeling right now what it would feel like if that were already true. Not what it will feel like someday, what it would feel like now if now were then. Let me walk you through this practically. Let us say your specific person has not spoken to you in weeks. Maybe they ended the relationship. Maybe they said they needed the space. Maybe they are with someone else in the outer world. All the evidence suggests they are not thinking of you. They do not want you. They have moved on. And so your natural assumption based on that evidence is that they are gone. That assumption feels justified. It feels like you are just being realistic. But Neville would tell you that assumption is what is keeping them gone. The outer world is not the cause. It is the effect. It is the mirror. And if you continue to assume they are gone, the mirror will continue to show you someone who is gone. But what if you dared to assume otherwise? What if you ignored the outer evidence entirely and assumed in consciousness that they are madly in love with you, that they think of you constantly, that they are at this very moment missing you, wanting you, planning to reach out to you? What if you built that image in your mind and lived from it, not as a technique to make something happen, but as the truth, as the state you are choosing to occupy? This is not pretending. This is not lying to yourself. This is understanding that consciousness is the only reality, and that the reality you assume in consciousness will externalize. So you close your eyes tonight and you see them. You see them clearly. You see their face. You hear their face. You hear their voice. And you imagine them saying the words you long to hear. I miss you. I love you. I want to be with you. You imagine them reaching for you. You imagine the feeling of their hand in yours. You imagine the warmth, the relief, the joy of being together. And you do not imagine this as something that might happen someday. You imagine it as though it is happening now. You feel it. You sink into that feeling. You let it fill you. And you fall asleep in that state, in that assumption, in that image. Now what happens next is not magic. It is law. The image you have impressed upon your consciousness, the state you have occupied, begins to externalize. The outer world, including the behavior of your specific person, begins to shift to match your inner image. Not because you are controlling them, but because they, in your world, are a reflection of your consciousness. You change the inner image and the mirror must change. It has no choice. This is the law Neville taught. This is the law he proved again and again in his own life, and in the lives of thousands who came to him. I want to share another story, one that illustrates this beautifully. A young man once wrote to Neville about a woman he loved who had rejected him completely. She told him she did not feel the same way, that she saw him only as a friend, and that she was interested in someone else. The young man was heartbroken, but he had been studying Neville's teachings, and he decided to test them. Every night he imagined this woman in love with him. He did not imagine the other man disappearing. He simply imagined the other man disappearing. He did not imagine the other man disappearing. He simply imagined the end. He imagined her looking at him with love. He imagined her saying, "I am yours." He imagined holding her and feeling the reality of their union. He did this night after night, falling asleep in that feeling, in that assumption. For a while, nothing changed in the outer world. She did not contact him. She continued seeing the other man, but he persisted. He did not waver. He did not return to the old assumption that she did not want him. He lived in consciousness in the end. And then one day, she reached out. She said she had been thinking about him. She said something had shifted. Within a short time, she ended the other relationship and came to him, saying the very words he had imagined. She was in love with him. She wanted to be with him. She wanted to be with him. To her, it felt like her own decision, her own change of heart. But the young man knew the truth. He had changed the image. He had changed the assumption. And the mirror had reflected the change. This is not an isolated case. Neville shared countless stories like this throughout his lectures. He would say, "Try it. Test it. Do not believe me. Prove it to yourself." And those who did, those who dared to assume the wish fulfilled despite all outer evidence to the contrary, found that the outer world conformed. The specific person who seemed so hazard in their indifference or their rejection suddenly changed. They reached out. They softened. They returned. And it always seemed from the outside like a coincidence, like a change of heart, like luck. But those who had done the inner work knew. They had changed the image, and the mirror had changed. So how do you change the image? How do you shift from the assumption that they do not want you, to the assumption that they do not want you, to the assumption that they do? This is not about forcing yourself to believe something that feels false. This is about occupying a state. Neville spoke often about states. He said that all things exist as states, and that you as consciousness can move into any state you choose. Right now, if your specific person seems distant or uninterested, you are occupying the state of separation. You are occupying the state of being unwanted. That state feels real because you are in it, but it is not the only state available to you. There is another state, the state of being loved by them, the state of union, the state of fulfillment. And that state is just as real, just as available. You simply have to move into it. You move into a state by imagining from it, not imagining it, but imagining from it. Let me explain the difference. If you imagine your specific person loving you as something separate from yourself, as something you are looking at from a distance, you are imagining it. You are still in the state of separation, looking at the desired state from afar. But if you imagine yourself in the position of already being loved by them, if you imagine what you would see and hear and feel if it were already true, then you are imagining from the state. You are in it. And when you are in a state, that state externalizes. It must. Because consciousness is the only reality. So tonight, when you close your eyes, do not imagine your specific person as though they are far away and you are trying to reach them. Imagine from the end. Put yourself in the scene that would exist if your desire were already fulfilled. If you want them to text you, do not imagine them deciding to text you. Imagine the text already received. See the screen. See their name. See the words. Feel the relief, the joy, the satisfaction. If you want them to confess their love, do not imagine the moment leading up to it. Imagine the moment after. Imagine the self in their arms. Imagine the feeling of being loved, being chosen, being wanted. Live in that state. Dwell there and fall asleep in it. Neville called this the state akin to sleep, and he taught that this is the most powerful time to impress the subconscious. As you drift off, your conscious mind relaxes its grip, and the subconscious is open, receptive. This is when the imaginal act becomes most effective, so use that time. Do not waste it replaying the day's disappointments or worrying about tomorrow. Use it to occupy the state of the wish fulfilled. Use it to assume in consciousness that your specific person is already yours, already in love with you, already acting as the mirror of your deepest desire. And here is what will happen. At first it may feel like pretending. It may feel like you are just making it up. But if you persist, if you return to that state night after night, something shifts. The state begins to feel natural. The assumption begins to feel real. And as it does, the outer world begins to shift. You will notice small changes first. Perhaps a mutual friend mentions them. Perhaps you feel a sudden inner knowing that they are thinking of you. Perhaps you see signs, synchronicities. And then the larger shift comes. They reach out. They change. They become, in your outer experience, the person you have been imagining them to be. Not because you forced them, but because you changed the inner image, and the mirror reflected the change. This is the power you hold. This is the truth Neville taught. You are not at the mercy of another's will. You are the one determining what they are to you. You are the one holding the mirror. And when you change what you hold in consciousness, the reflection must change. This is law. This is not hope or faith in the religious sense. This is mechanical, impersonal, absolute law. Consciousness is the only reality, and whatever you are conscious of being, that you will see reflected in your world. Now let us talk about the inner image of self, because this is where many people stumble. You can imagine your specific person loving you. You can construct the scene. You can feel the feeling. But if, underneath it all, you do not believe you are worthy of being loved, if you hold an image of yourself as undesirable or unlovable or not enough, then that self-concept will sabotage the outer image. The mirror reflects both. It reflects how you see them, and it reflects how you see yourself. And often the reason the specific person seems distant or rejecting is not because you are imagining them that way directly, but because you are imagining yourself as someone who gets rejected, someone who is not chosen, someone who is always on the outside looking in. Neville taught that self-concept is foundational. He said, you are always expressing your concept of yourself. Not sometimes, always. So if your concept of yourself is that you are unwanted, that you are second best, that you are the one people leave, then that is what you will experience, no matter how much you try to imagine a specific person loving you. The outer image cannot hold if the inner image of self is in conflict with it. So part of changing the mirror, part of making your specific person reflect love and desire and commitment, is changing how you see yourself. You must assume that you are the kind of person who is loved. You must assume that you are irresistible, that you are chosen, that you are the one others long for, not because of anything you do or any quality you possess, but simply because that is the state you occupy. That is who you are deciding to be, in consciousness. This is not arrogance. This is not ego. This is understanding that you are not a fixed self. You are not limited to the identity you were given by your past, by your family, by your experiences. You are consciousness, and consciousness can assume any identity it chooses. So choose to be the one who is loved. Choose to be the one who is adored. Choose to be the one who is desired. Choose to be the version of yourself that your specific person adores. And as you assume that, as you live from that self-concept, the mirror will reflect it. They will treat you as irresistible because you are assuming you are. They will choose you because you are assuming you are chosen. Let me give you a very practical way to do this. Neville often recommended using a simple phrase, repeated as you fall asleep, to saturate consciousness with a new assumption. He called this using affirmations, though not in the way most people think of affirmations. He did not mean repeating empty words you do not believe. He meant using a phrase that implies the wish fulfilled and repeating it until it becomes your dominant feeling, your dominant assumption. So if you want your specific person to be in love with you, and you also want to shift your self-concept to match that, you might repeat a phrase like, I am loved, or I am chosen, or I am adored by them. Say it slowly. Say it with feeling. Let it sink in. Do not argue with it. Do not let your rational mind say, but that is not true. Just repeat it. Let it be the last thing your conscious mind hears before sleep. And as you repeat it, imagine what it feels like to be that person. Imagine what it feels like to be the one who is loved, who is chosen, who is adored. Let that feeling fill you. Let it become your state. Over time, this phrase, this assumption will harden into fact. It will become your natural sense of self. And when it does, the outer world, including your specific person, must conform. They will reflect the new self-concept. We will reflect the new self-concept. They will mirror back to you the love and desire and devotion you are assuming for yourself. Now, let me address something that often comes up. What if the outer world seems to contradict your inner work? What if you are faithfully imagining your specific person as loving and devoted, and yet they continue to seem distant or even hostile? Does that mean the law is not working? Does that mean you are doing something wrong? No, it means you are in the interval between the imaginal act and its fulfillment. Neville spoke of this often. He said there is always an interval. You plant the seed in consciousness, and there is a period of time before the harvest. That does not mean the seed is not growing. It simply means you have not yet seen the fruit. During this interval, your job is not to look for evidence. Your job is to remain faithful to the state. Do not let the outer world pull you back into the old assumption. Do not let their silence or their seeming indifference convince you that it is not working. Remember, the outer world is the past. It is the reflection of old assumptions. It takes time for consciousness to catch up, for the new assumption to externalize. But it will, if you persist, if you do not waver, if you continue to live in consciousness from the state of the wish fulfilled. The outer world must conform. That is the law. Neville told a story once of a man who wanted a specific job. He imagined himself in that position. He felt the reality of it. He assumed it was his. But weeks went by and nothing changed. He did not hear from the company. There was no offer. The outer world seemed to say, "It is not yours." But the man did not give up. He continued to assume. He continued to live in the end. And then, suddenly, everything shifted. He continued to live in the end. And then, suddenly, everything shifted. They offered him the job. To everyone else, it looked like luck, like good timing. But the man knew. He had assumed it in consciousness, and consciousness had created the bridge of incidents that made it so. This is how it works with your specific person as well. You may not see the change immediately. They may not text you tomorrow. But if you remain faithful to the state, if you continue to assume they are yours, consciousness will create the bridge. Circumstances will shift. Their feelings will shift. The outer world will rearrange itself to reflect your inner assumption. You do not need to know how. You do not need to see the path. You simply need to assume the end and let consciousness do the rest. So let us now move into the practical application of all of this. What do you actually do, starting tonight, to change the mirror? How do you take this principle and live it? First, you must decide what you want the mirror to show. Be specific. Do not just say, "I want them to love me." What does that look like? What would they say? What would they do? How would they treat you? See it clearly. Neville always emphasized the importance of clarity. The more specific your imaginal act, the more effectively it impresses the subconscious. So decide on a scene, one simple scene that implies your wish is fulfilled. Perhaps they are holding your hand and saying, "I love you." Perhaps you are lying together and they are whispering, "I am so glad we are together." And they are whispering, "I am so glad we are together." Perhaps you are reading a text from them that says, "I have been thinking about you all day." Choose one scene. Make it short. Make it simple. But make it real in your mind. Second, tonight as you lie down to sleep, bring that scene into your imagination. Close your eyes and see it. Use all your senses. See their face. Hear their voice. Feel the touch of their hand, the warmth of their body, the texture of the moment. Do not just visualize it like a movie playing in your head. Step into it. Be there. Experience it from within as though it is happening now. And as you do, feel the emotion of it. Feel the joy, the love, the relief, the satisfaction. Let that feeling fill you. Let it be real. Third, repeat the scene over and over, gently, without strain. You are not forcing anything. You are simply dwelling in the state. And as you repeat it, as you sink deeper into the feeling, you will begin to drift towards sleep. Let yourself drift. Let the scene be the last thing in your consciousness as you fall asleep. This is a state akin to sleep. And this is when the impression is made most deeply. Do this every night. Do not skip a night. Do not let doubt creep in and tell you it is not working. Just do it, faithfully, persistently. And during the day, whenever you think of your specific person, do not replay the past. Do not worry about the silence. Do not replay the past. Do not replay the old assumption. Do not replay the past. Instead, gently remind yourself of your imaginal act. Remind yourself that you have already seen it, felt it, lived it in consciousness. And return to that feeling. Return to the state. Live from the end. This is not a technique. This is a way of life. This is understanding that you are not waiting for the outer world to change so you can feel fulfilled. You are feeling fulfilled now in imagination, and the outer world will reflect that fulfillment. You are not waiting for your specific person to choose you. You are assuming they already have, and they will act out that assumption in your world. You are not hoping. You are knowing. You are knowing. You are not wishing. You are being. And as you do this, as you live from this state, you will notice something remarkable. You will begin to feel different. The anxiety, the longing, the desperate need for them to reach out. It will start to fade, not because you have given up, but because you are already fulfilled in consciousness. You already have what you desire. And when you are fulfilled within, the outer world must reflect that fulfillment. The mirror must show you what you are. This is the practice. This is the path. And if you walk it faithfully, I promise you the mirror will change. Your specific person will reflect the love, the desire, the devotion you are assuming. They will become, in your experience, the person you have imagined them to be, not because you manipulated them, but because you changed the inner image, and consciousness is the only reality. Now let us step back and see the larger picture, because this teaching is not just about getting a specific person to love you. It is not just a tool for manifesting a desire. It is a revelation of who you are and how the universe works. Neville taught that you are not a human being seeking God. You are God, clothed in human form, dreaming this world into being. Consciousness is God, and you, as an individual center of consciousness, are God individualized. Everything you experience is your own consciousness pushed out. The people in your life, the circumstances, the events, all of it is you. When you see your specific person as a mirror, when you realize that they are reflecting your assumptions, you are glimpsing a much larger truth. You are seeing that there is no outer cause. There is only inner cause. You are seeing that you are not a victim of circumstance, not a passive observer of a world that happens to you. You are the creator. You are the operant power. Every moment of your experience is your own consciousness made visible. This is both humbling and empowering. It is humbling because it means you cannot blame anyone else for your experience. You cannot say they are the reason you are unhappy. You cannot say the world is against you. It is all you. But it is also empowering, deeply empowering, because it means you are not stuck. You are not limited. You are not waiting for permission or approval or the right circumstances. You have the power, right now, to change your entire world simply by changing your entire world, simply by changing your consciousness, simply by changing what you assume. Neville often quoted scripture to illustrate this. He loved the verse from Proverbs, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Not so will he be someday. So is he." What you assume in consciousness you are, and the world reflects what you are. Or consider the words of Jesus. It is done unto you as you believe. Not as you hope, not as you wish, but as you believe, as you assume. Your belief, your assumption, is the creative power. And when you truly grasp this, when you take full responsibility for your consciousness, you step into your divinity. Your specific person is simply one mirror among many, but they are a powerful mirror because they reflect the assumptions you hold about love, about worthiness, about your own desirability. And when you change those assumptions, when you see yourself as loved and chosen and adored, not just by this one person, but by consciousness itself, by God, then the mirror changes. And not just the mirror of this one person. Every mirror changes. And not just the mirror of this one person. Every mirror changes. Your entire world begins to reflect the new self-concept. You walk differently. You speak different. Opportunities come. Doors open. And yes, the one you desire comes to you. But by then you realize it was never about them. It was about you. It was about discovering who you truly are. Neville said in one of his lectures, "You are told to forgive 70 times 7. That means there is no end to forgiveness. But what are you forgiving the world for being a mirror? You are forgiving yourself for having assumed wrongly. And when you forgive, when you let go of the old assumptions and the old images, You are free to assume anew. You are free to create anew. This is the promise. This is the power. So as we come to a close, I want to leave you with this. Your specific person is a mirror. They are reflecting you, everything they do, every word they say or do not say, every gesture, every silence. It is not about them. It is about the assumptions you hold in consciousness. And if you do not like what the mirror is showing, you do not try to change the mirror. You change the image. You go within. You assume the state of the wish fulfilled. You see them as you wish them to be. And you see yourself as the one who is loved, the one who is chosen, 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 the one who is worthy. And you live from that state. You dwell in it. You fall asleep in it. And you let consciousness, which is God, which is law, which is the only reality, externalize that state in your world. You do not need to know how it will happen. You do not need to force it or figure it out or make it happen. You simply assume and let the law do the work. This is the secret. This is the truth. And it changes everything. So tonight, before you sleep, do not replay the past. Do not worry about their silence. Do not scroll through old messages or wonder what they are doing or who they are with. Instead, close your eyes, enter into your imagination. See them as you wish them to be. Hear them saying the words you long to hear. Feel what it would feel like if it were already true. And dwell there. Let that be your reality, because in consciousness it is your reality. And what is real in consciousness must become real in the outer world. That is the law. That is the promise. You are not powerless. You are not waiting. You are the creator of your experience, and your specific person is a mirror reflecting the image you hold. So change the image, assume the wish fulfilled, and watch as the mirror changes before your very eyes. Try it tonight. Dare to assume it. Live in the end, and I tell you, you will see the evidence of this law in your world. The mirror will reflect the new image. Your specific person will become the person you have imagined, and you will know beyond doubt that consciousness is the only reality, and you are its operant power. That is the teaching. That is the truth, and it changes everything.